Hi guys, welcome back to the Drive Life channel. In today's video we're going to be talking Mercedes engines, and in particular the OM651. Now this engine has been used in pretty much everything, including our Sprinter here, Vito, C-Class, A-Class, E-Class, B-Class, every Merc you can imagine, up until sort of S-Class and that, and SL, that sort of thing. Anything that's had a 2.1 litre diesel in will use this engine at some point. Now this engine in its earliest forms were introduced in 2008, made it into sort of mainstream cars 2009. This is obviously a 2013 Sprinter, but every E-Class, 220D, even the 250s as well, all use this engine. It's the 2.1 litre 4-cylinder diesel that I think probably an obscene amount of percentage of Mercedes passenger cars and vans have in them. So this one in particular is rated at 150 horsepower in this Sprinter, but what I'm going to talk about is true for all of the vehicles that it's in. So you may have seen online, these have issues with timing chains. Very similar situation to the BMW N47 engine, which also has a problem with timing chains. It was a sign of the times, and both engines were developed around the same time. And the idea was that they would have a timing chain that lasted the lifetime of the vehicle. Now, for those of you who don't know what the timing chain is, a timing chain is something that basically makes sure the entire engine works in time. It's the same as a cam belt in other cars. And this particular vehicle, or this particular engine, used something called a two-row timing chain, which is essentially a chain instead of the cam belt, which had two rows of link. And what can happen is those timing chains can stretch and then eventually snap. Now, if your timing chain snaps, it's pretty much goodbye to the engine. You're not going to fix, well, you can fix it, but without nothing short of taking the engine out and rebuilding it, it's not an easy fix at all. So it's really something you want to avoid. And a lot of people get very scared when they're buying a used Mercedes vehicle about this issue happening to them. So we're going to talk through what you need to avoid it, and how common it is really. Now, I've done a lot of research leading up to this video, and obviously leading up to buying this van. We've converted this into a camper. We don't want it to blow its engine after putting all the time and money into it. So the good news is that this problem is far more rare than the internet will ever let you believe. There's a lot of talk on forums about timing chain issues, etc., but actually there's very few, especially from the experts who deal with these vehicles, deal with these engines regularly, that actually do go badly wrong. What happens is the tensioners in the back of the engine, they're located down at the back of the engine, and they're the things that pull the chains tight, actually are the things that will loosen over time. So it's not actually the chain itself, it's the tensioner will loosen, and that can actually cause oil leaks. The first thing you can tell normally is a small oil leak at the back of the engine, or a rattling sound coming from the timing chain itself. Now, this will happen when you start the vehicle up, or start the engine, normally for around 3 seconds, and then it will go as oil pressure builds up, etc. Now, you can drive a long time when it's doing that initial startup rattle. The issue comes when the vehicles are running for long periods of time and they're continuing to rattle. Now, you can obviously prevent this and avoid getting into the situation in the first place, and that is through proper maintenance. Now, these vehicles or these engines were designed to have a service interval of 20,000 miles. Scrap that completely, make that 10,000 miles max, and you're very unlikely to have an issue with your OM651 engine. All the manufacturers at the time were doing it. BMW especially did it, the M47 engine, and they also had the same issues. These engines, or engines in general, just need to be looked after more than every 20,000 miles. Also, using high grade oil. Using higher grade oil means that there's less pressure put on the tensioner and everything like that. Imagine that strain going through the chain during driving is much reduced when it's properly looked after and serviced using proper oils. So yeah, it's something that, like I say, is fortunately much more rare than people make out. There are hundreds and thousands or millions of Mercedes vehicles that use this engine that have no issues whatsoever. And it's one of those things that if you didn't know about it, you probably wouldn't worry about it. You don't know what you don't know, and it wouldn't be an issue for you. So that is something to consider. Like I said, they do this variant of engine in lots of different vehicles and in lots of different power outputs. This might look different in the van than it does to your car, because essentially this bit will be over here in the car, but trust me, it is the same engine. And it's handy in the van here. You can actually get a really good look at these engines and see how they work, and so far this one has been bulletproof. It's on 165,000 miles and runs sweeter than pretty much every other car I own, especially the Jeep, which is broken down at the moment. So yeah, it's really a really good stout engine. Mercedes engines in general tend to be very good. They do have a history of timing chain issues, but like I said, these have often been very, very rare in cases, and unfortunately those who experience the issue are obviously likely to be quite vocal about it, because as you would be if you just bought your new Mercedes or bought Mercedes expecting the best and you get an engine issue, you're going to let people know about it. But yeah, fortunately, all you need to do is just check if you're buying one, or check if you own it now. If there's a horrible sort of metallic rattling noise when you first start it up, then just what you can do is you can get the tensioner changed. And unlike the BMW engines, it's not a complete disaster to have replaced as well. So if you do notice these symptoms, you can go to most Mercedes specialists. They will change it for around £1,000, and then your engine is pretty much bulletproof indefinitely then. So I mean, if you're really nervous, you can get it done. If you've got the spare money and you don't know what to do with it, then I would recommend getting it done, because then you can enjoy your vehicle without having to worry about it, which I think is one of the big things in driving. It's just enjoyment, whether it's a van like this, whether it's a car. I mean, the 250s, the 200 horsepower, you want to be able to enjoy that without worrying. So yeah, but that's all. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Let me know if you own a OM651 engined Mercedes. Let me know your thoughts, whether you've had any issues with it, whether you know anyone who's experienced issues with timing chains, and we will see you in the next video. Cheers.